the Honorable Dr. Vishwa Mahadeo. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate my colleague MP on a very, very vibrant presentation, and I'm sure he has a far way to go. In fact, you reminded me of somebody who used to sit next to me in another parliament. Mr. Speaker, I want to start with a quote. There is no worse blind man than the one who doesn't want to see. There is no worse deaf man than the one who doesn't want to hear. And there is no worse madman than the one who doesn't want to understand. Mr. Speaker, that encapsulated what I heard today. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to contribute to the 2025 budget debate, a budget that was so eloquently presented by our Honorable Minister, Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, under the theme, A Secure, Prosperous and Sustainable Guyana, a theme that speaks directly to the aspirations of our people and the responsibility of our government under the leadership of President Irfaan Ali to deliver meaningful and, more importantly, sustainable progress to every citizen in every corner of our great country. And I state here and now, Mr. Speaker, that I support this 2025 budget wholeheartedly. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Ashni Singh and all the hardworking staff at the Ministry of Finance for their dedicated effort to produce this, the largest budget ever, 1.382 trillion Guyana dollars. This budget that will be wrapping up on the promises made by us in our last manifesto. The numbers and allocations in this budget are not just financial figures, Mr. Speaker. They're actually symbols of hope and opportunities for families, communities, and future generations. This budget builds on the foundation of inclusivity, equity, sustainability, and ensures that every Guyanese has access to tools and resources that they need to be healthy, to grow, and to thrive. Mr. Speaker, before I go into my substantial presentation, I need to answer a couple of issues that were raised. Just before me, a speaker mentioned that there is shortage of wheelchairs in a particular facility. Mr. Speaker, in actual fact, we distributed from the Ministry of Health alone over 900 wheelchairs last year. Mr. Speaker, it was also mentioned that we have shortages of nurses and doctors. Migration, sorry. Mr. Speaker, just to let you know, just to let everyone know, that migration has been a challenge, but, Mr. Speaker, the number of physicians per 10,000 population in 2020 was 11.2. Compare that, Mr. Speaker, to what we left in 2015, 14.1 per 10,000 population, so it reduced. Remember, Mr. Speaker, doctors were forced to either go on contract, go on the pensionable establishment, or their contracts are not going to be renewed. Very many of them opted not to have their contract renewed. Mr. Speaker, last year, it was 20.6 per 10,000 population. And Mr. Speaker, with the advent of the new hospitals that we're building, these numbers are definitely going to increase. And to answer my good colleague over there, nurses. Well, Mr. Speaker, this year alone, we'll be graduating 800. We'll be graduating 800 nurses. We recognize that there are shortages of nurses, Mr. Speaker. But what did you do when you were in office? What did you do to meet the shortages that were there? Currently, we have over 3,000 nurses in training. And this year, we are going to take in another over 3,000 persons. Mr. Speaker, we have a plan and we are working towards the plan. The only thing that the APNU AFC government did better than us, Mr. Speaker, and they did something better than us. Over 4 years, they had 3 ministers of health. We only have one who's doing a far better job than all 3 put together. So the numbers of ministers of health that they had in their term was definitely bigger. Mr. Speaker, last Friday, a member raised an issue about Port 𝐃𝐄𝐁𝐃𝐄𝐁. Port 𝐃𝐄𝐁𝐃 Hospital, they claim that they built it. That honorable member claimed that they built it. And I have here, Mr. Speaker, Port 𝐃𝐄𝐁 District Hospital, Ministry of Public Health, officially commissioned by the Honorable Balder Lawrence MP on the 24th day of May 2020. About $1 billion was spent here, Mr. Speaker, and I spoke to the RHO, who was then RHO also. All that they were offering was the services of a health center. They had no x-ray, they had no functioning laboratory, no functioning theater. Mr. Speaker, within the first year, the Honorable Minister of Health commissioned the brand new x-ray, the functioning laboratory, and we have a fully functional theater that will go into operation. So, Mr. Speaker, part of the truth doesn't hold water. We have to tell the whole truth. Mr. Speaker, Guyana is definitely going through a phase of development never seen before, a literal revolution. There are vast new possibilities of farming, trade, travel, community development. Due to major investments in roads, bridges, and transportation networks, jobs are open, opportunities are created. Quarantine River Bridge will not only strengthen ties with Suriname, but also position Guyana as a hub for regional trade, fostering economic growth and job creation. Similarly, the Linden to Mabura Road would open areas that were never before, that were historically isolated. These flagship projects, Mr. Speaker, investing heavily in upgrading rural roads, drainage systems, bridges, particularly in flood-prone areas, will make a major difference in the development of our country. Mr. Speaker, every family deserves a safe and comfortable home and a roof over their head. Through this budget, the government will distribute titles to 10,000 homes, and another 25,000 house lots will be allocated. Housing schemes are developed with water, electricity, and modern infrastructure, which will create vibrant communities where children can study and play safely, and families can flourish. Mr. Speaker, I am one of 3 geographic MPs to Region 6. And Region 6 holds a special place in my heart since I worked there as a doctor for over 21 years. The transformative investments outlined in this budget will address long-standing challenges that we have there, Mr. Speaker. Agriculture, under the watch of our Honorable 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄 Mustafa, who's also from Region 6. Agriculture is not just an economic pillar, it is the heartbeat of Region 6. It is the heartbeat of several rural communities. This budget strengthens Guyana's position of becoming the breadbasket of the Caribbean through investments in modern irrigation system, flood resilience measures, and support for farmers to set up shade houses and introduction of aquaculture. New agro-processing facilities enable farmers to create value-added products, increasing incomes and creating jobs. These initiatives will particularly benefit regions like East Berbice Quarantine, where agriculture is a way of life for families. Let us not forget that Region 6 depends heavily on rice cultivation and the sugar industry. And Mr. Speaker, I have to say it. The APNU AFC closed Skeldon and Rose Hall Estate, sending home thousands of workers, putting thousands of families on the breadline, with no attempt to alleviate their suffering. They had a philosophy that they put in action, profits before people's welfare, causing immense suffering. The rice farmers, when they reached out for help from the APNU AFC government, were callously told, rice is not government business. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, agriculture in Region 6, construction of adventure pump station and drainage and irrigation improvements, and Mr. Speaker, advancement of works on the Hope Light canals that we'll be building at number 52 and Lancaster villages to avoid flooding. Mr. Speaker, there are 79 shade houses, thank you, Minister, 79 shade houses constructed and distribution of planting materials to farmers. Establishment of agro-processing facilities at Crabble Creek and Oriala. For this year, for D&I this year, the region has another $88.5 million to spend. Education, Mr. Speaker, the budget allocates unprecedented resources to improve access, quality, and inclusivity in education. Smart classrooms are being created, and the Gold Scholarship Program ensures that every child from Georgetown to the most hinterland and far-to-reach village has access to quality learning opportunities. Mr. Speaker, much has already been said in this House about fees being abolished at University of Guyana, but I'd like to add that approximately 700 Barbicians attending the Tain campus will now be getting free tuition at that campus, in addition to the thousands that are at Turkine. Education is definitely a priority for Region 6. From 2020 to now, every single educational facility in Region 6 was either fixed, upgraded, or rebuilt. The Because We Care grant and school uniform assistance program was reinstated in 2021, and 22,422 students benefited. In 2024, 22,768 students received $45,000 per child. Mr. Speaker, between 2020 and 2024, $3.045 billion was shared out in Region 6 and injected in this region through these programs. 551 teachers were trained in the 4 years, Mr. Speaker, to compare with 2,015 trained teachers in 2024 as for 1,408 in 2020. 3 new schools are being constructed, Albion, Maibikuri, and Oriala. Mr. Speaker, the commencement of the Palmyra to Molson Creek Highway has begun. Negotiations for the new bridges across the Berbice and Quarantine rivers, that is ongoing. 1,485 contracts were executed at a cost of $37.9 billion for community roads across Region 6. So, Mr. Speaker, again, going to what my colleague said, these are all our friends and favorites. Mr. Speaker, completion of the recreational enhancement program at Brothers Village, Corriverton, Lonsdale, and New Amsterdam. The riprap CD fences, where necessary, was fixed. Mr. Speaker, I turn to health. The health of our nation is a top priority. Budget 2025 allocates significant resources to modernize healthcare infrastructure, training of health workers, expanding services, and improving access for all citizens. Mr. Speaker, the construction of new hospitals, new training facilities for health personnel, and upgrades to existing facilities ensure that Guyanese, regardless of their location, have access to world-class health care, including training opportunities. Public health campaigns focusing on chronic illnesses, maternal health, and vaccinations save lives and improve the quality of life for our citizens. The government's commitment to establishing a world-class healthcare system is evident in its focus on modernizing facilities, expanding services, ensuring equitable access to quality care for all citizens. Region 6 is also set to benefit from transformative projects that will enhance the health and well-being of its residents. And going back to the issue of training for nurses, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Health, in his wisdom, along with His Excellency the President and the Cabinet, they have started something that is unique in Guyana, never done before: hybrid training. Mr. Speaker, because of this, we could take in thousands of students at the same time. Hybrid training, students study at their own pace using the Coursera platform, and they're working at the same time. So they could study in the evenings, they do their exams, and Mr. Speaker, simulation centers have been set up in regions so that the students, when necessary to do the practicals, they could go to the simulation centers, and they could also go to the hospital to get their practicals. So, Mr. Speaker, we are catering for the future. The old system where we are training a couple of hundreds of persons every year or every other year, that can no longer meet our needs. So with this new system in place, we are sure that in a few years, we'll be able to have enough staff, enough nurses to meet our needs. In addition to this, Mr. Speaker, we are training nurses in 2 hinterland communities, in Mabaruma and in Letem. These 2 communities are training and have already trained their own batches of nursing assistants. Mr. Speaker, in Region 6, over the last 4 years, all health facilities were upgraded, expanded, and repaired or rebuilt, with new facilities constructed at Maras, Cape-Mount, Chesney, Canefield, and Fort Ordnance. Dental services were expanded in Region 6, with new clinics at number 64 Health Center, Cumberland and Brothers Health Center. Digital x-rays were set up in New Amsterdam, Ibicure, and Port Moran hospitals. Work has already started for a new state-of-the-art $162.7 million New Amsterdam Regional Hospital. We are near the completion of construction of the US $30 million number 75 hospital, which will become operational later this year, Mr. Speaker. This new hospital will have a 75 inpatient bed capacity, 3 fully functioning, fully equipped operating theaters, modern laboratory facilities, a CT, and other diagnostic capacity that we do not currently have. This hospital will serve residents in the East Berbice quarantine and also persons who have been accessing services from across the border. Mr. Speaker, works are advancing on the New Amsterdam Health Sciences Training Facility for nurses and other personnel. We have started offering telemedicine services at all 3 of our riverine communities, Oriala, Siparuta, and Baracara, Mr. Speaker. I pause to remind this House that successful health programs that were in place in Region 6, such as the home-based care program, which took care of the incapacitated and the bedridden, the men's health program and the care of the elderly program, among others, were stopped as soon as APA and UAFC took office in 2015. Sir, these programs are very successful, so much so that the elderly care program was recognized as one of the 60 best practices in the world and was written up and published in a book. This book here, Mr. Speaker, Health Systems Improvement Across the Globe, Success Stories from 60 Countries. The title of the chapter was Guyana, Holistic Geriatric Mega Clinics for Care of the Elderly in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, we have reintroduced this program. Now they are bigger, better, and this time it's not only in Region 6, it's across the country. And the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, Honorable Member, is paying particular attention to this. Mr. Speaker, I'll utilize this opportunity to tell you about some other achievements in Region 6. At the New Amsterdam Hospital, in 2021, we started a gastroenterology clinic. 2022, a cardiology clinic, and Mr. Speaker, the cardiology clinic has over 900 patients, of which 300 were referred from Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation to Region 6.
You need an extension, Honorable Member, to complete today's presentation.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for 5 minutes for the Honorable Member to continue his speech, conclude his speech.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, you may continue and conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have also started nephrology, spirometry, and pain management clinics at the New Amsterdam Hospital. The Honorable Mr. Jones said that New Amsterdam Hospital was not offering dialysis. In 2020, only 13 patients were required dialysis or were accessing dialysis in Region 6, Mr. Speaker. Now, with the government giving $600,000 per year for every dialysis patient, 47 Barbicians are now accessing dialysis at a provider of their choice. They don't have to come to where we want them to go. They have the choice, Mr. Speaker. Additionally, if a person is admitted and needs urgent dialysis, we pick up the cost. Mr. Speaker, I really don't understand the issues about the 10,000 voucher per person for screening tests. This is just a common sense issue. Isn't it better for persons have a choice to go to whichever licensed provider they may want to go to for the service? Whether it's a health checkup, an eye test, or an HPV screening, this government supports that. Mr. Speaker, we have done a good job. Is everything perfect? No. We are still striving to better, to improve, and that is what this budget is all about. Mr. Speaker, this country was totally in shambles after the APA and UAFC took office. Like a hurricane, they swept through and destroyed everything. Mr. Speaker, the theaters at National Ophthalmology Hospital were non-functional. When we took office, for 5 years, they didn't do surgeries. Yet, Mr. Speaker, I have here another National Ophthalmology Hospital, Port Moran, Quarantine, Barbados, recommissioned on Thursday, 4th of April 2019 by the Honorable Senior Minister of Public Health, the Honorable Ms. Walda Lawrence MP, for the residents of the Barbados community. Mr. Speaker, it's a national facility and it caters for all of Guyana. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get it going again. And so far, we would have done over 3,700 surgeries at that facility from all the regions in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, this budget represents just one phase of a broader vision for transforming Guyana. These advancements align with Guyana's broader goal of achieving universal health coverage. Mr. Speaker, the transformative power of this budget extends beyond individual sectors and regions. It represents a vision of a Guyana where families in the hinterland have the same opportunities as those on the coast. Children grow up in safe, nurturing environments with access to quality education and quality health care, and farmers, entrepreneurs, and workers can achieve their full potential. Mr. Speaker, in closing, I would like to refer to what the Honourable Member, Mr. Christopher Jones, mentioned our party song, "Oh Fighting Men." Mr. Speaker, that is the title. Our song also says, "Now is a call for bravery. We'll break the bonds of slavery. We will set our Guyana free, not halfway slave and halfway free." Mr. Speaker, the People's Progressive Party has been since its inception fighting for the freedom of Guyana, fighting for the emancipation of Guyanese. We led the fight against colonialism. Then we had to lead the fight again against the 28 years of dictatorship. Then up to just a few years ago, we had to fight against serious efforts to rig and steal our elections and our democracy. And Mr. Speaker, we have overcome them all. I am proud to say that we on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we're all brave, fighting men. Sad to say, Mr. Speaker, fighting men and women, and I'm sad to say, Mr. Speaker, on the opposite side, they seem to be scared, even when they were in power, scared of walking the streets, scared of meeting the people, even scared of allowing Guyanese to get live photographs. And now they're scared of the next elections, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, over here we have the fighting men and women. Over there we have the frightened men and women. Mr. Speaker, I call on all Guyanese to work together for the greater good. Together we can build a nation that is secure, prosperous, and sustainable. A nation that leaves no one behind, one Guyana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.